Let me tell you a story that still makes my blood boil every time I think about it. A story so wild, some folks just shake their heads and say, only in America. But I lived it. And if you've ever dealt with an HOA with more power than sense, you might see a little of yourself here. So picture this. I get home 3 days early from a trip, already dreaming about a cold beer and a quiet evening, only to step inside and find a stranger in my kitchen pots, boiling on my stove clothes, flung over my bedroom chair like she'd been living there for weeks. I'm standing there, mouth open, trying to wrap my head around it, when she turns to me all wide-eyed and says, "Oh, Barbara from the HOA said it was okay." You ever felt your brain just short-circuit from sheer rage because rage doesn't even cover it? I blurt out, "Who the hell are you and why are you cooking in my kitchen?" And that's when chaos kicked off. Let's back up a second. I install security systems for a living. I notice details most folks miss, like the porch light blazing away in the afternoon sun. I never leave that thing on. The front door, which should have been stiff from days locked up, turned smooth as butter under my hand. A wave of garlic and tomatoes rolled out like someone else's welcome mat, not just someone cooking a full-on move-in. I start sweeping the place, heart-pounding, training instincts kicking in, purse on the table, lipstick on the mug, women's shoes by the door. Family photo on the wall still has my ugly mug in it, so I know I'm not in the wrong house, but every other detail screams not yours anymore. Then I hear humming soft, cheerful, like someone living their best life. I round the corner and see her, woman in her 50s, brown hair, floral apron, spoon in hand. When she spots me, the spoon clatters to the floor and she goes pale as a ghost. "Oh my God," she whispers, clutching the counter. You're not supposed to be here." "Excuse me," I say, trying not to lose my mind. "What exactly are you doing in my house?" She's shaking. Silence stretches between us. Then she spits out, "Barbara said you'd be gone for 2 weeks. She told me it was safer to stay here." Barbara, the HOA president. That name drops into my gut like a stone. I glance at the security panel on the wall, dead. Not just turned off, but powered down. I install these systems. You have to know what you're doing to kill them that clean. "Barbara let you in?" I ask, voice going flat and dangerous. She nods, relief flickering in her eyes. She has a key. She said it was for the community's safety. She even told me how to turn off the alarm. You ever get that feeling you're not just mad, you're being played? Because that's what hit me hard. I tell her, "Pack your stuff, you're leaving. Now." She grabs her phone, stammering, "Barbara, he's back. He's telling me to leave." From across the kitchen, I hear Barbara's voice explode out of the speaker, furious, sharp enough to peel paint. Now I know the woman's name, Chloe, because she says it in a panic. Barbara says, "Don't let you force me out until she gets here." I laugh, a cold, bitter sound. "Force you out? This is my house." While Chloe stands there wringing her hands, I start walking the perimeter like a stranger in my own home. Drawers open, toothbrush in the bathroom, my spare blanket on the couch. Every detail hits raw personal. This isn't an accident. It's a setup. Barbara's watched my schedule, timed my departure, and killed my security like flipping a switch. Then I hear a car door slam outside and the sharp click of heels on my walkway. Barbara's here. Through the window, I catch a flash of navy blue and a helmet of gray hair under the porch light she probably left on. I brace myself, that cold focus settling in. She bursts in like she owns the place. "Grant," she says, voice icy, "you returned early without notifying the HOA." I stare at her, jaw clenched. This is my house. I don't need to notify anyone. She just smiles, sliding a paper from her folder, a clause from the handbook, waving it like a sword. Section 12.3. Homeowners absent more than 7 days must notify the HOA for security purposes. I look at that paper. "Barbara, I bought this place. I didn't sign away my rights." She smiles, a knife in that smile. "Community living requires cooperation. You left this property vulnerable. I ensured it was safe." She nods toward Chloe like she's showing off a rescue dog. "By moving someone into my house without asking." Her chin lifts higher. "We have a duty to help residents in crisis." She's not a resident. Duty doesn't mean breaking into my house. The air's tight as a rope. "How did you get in?" I demand. She meets my gaze. "The HOA maintains access for emergencies." I feel my fists clench. "To my locks. My security system. Standard procedure," she recites like it's scripture. "You killed my alarm. We have master access. For your protection." That's when it hits me. This isn't about safety. It's about control. You crossed a line, I say. What I did was necessary, she hisses. Chloe would have been homeless. She's not my responsibility. This isn't charity, it's trespassing. She tells me I'm overreacting. Residents who fight the HOA often find life difficult. My spine stiffens. Is that a threat? It's reality. You want harmony? Play by the rules. But these aren't rules, they're her empire carved out of technicalities. I look her dead in the eye. Get out of my house. She doesn't move. For 3 long seconds, we're locked in a silent war. Then she snaps to Chloe, pack your things. Barbara lingers in the doorway, spits, fight me and you'll regret it. Then she's gone, her heels clapping a war drum down the walk. The house is silent, but my pulse is a thunderstorm. My kitchen smells like garlic and betrayal. I grab the counter, knuckles white, and let that rage harden into something sharper resolve. Barbara wanted war. She just drafted the wrong guy. That night, I pull up every log, every scrap of evidence, Chloe's admission security timestamps, every violation notice I've ever gotten. Barbara's playbook is all over my kitchen table. And right on cue, the next morning, a red-stamped envelope lands on my door, grass height violation. The parade of infractions begins. Grass too tall, cameras, unauthorized, my truck parked half an inch off. The hypocrisy is rich, the same cameras Barbara hacked now suddenly illegal. She stacks the fines, $150 for grass, $300 for cameras, $200 for improper vehicle alignment. By Friday, a letter arrives, mandatory disciplinary hearing. Failure to pay $650 in fines will result in legal action and possible residency suspension. In other words, she wants me out. Instead, I start building my case, formal rebuttals with photos, measurements, timestamps. I staple them to a formal complaint, unauthorized entry, disabling of my security, unlawful occupancy, retaliatory enforcement. I send copies to every board member, every email sharp and legal, and I start digging through the HOA bylaws. Guess what? No mention of master keys, no authority to enter private residences without consent. Barbara's entire routine fiction. Saturday morning, I hand-deliver my evidence to every board member. Derek, the vice president, opens his door in a faded Broncos shirt. He skims the first page and his face clouds over. Grant, what is this proof? Barbara's been breaking laws while pretending to enforce them. By the time I hit the treasurer's door, he mutters, unauthorized rentals. She's letting people stay in homes without permission. Not saying, I reply. Proving. He blinks, foundation crumbling. We need this to go to the board. Exactly why I'm here. I'm barely home when my phone buzzes, unknown number. A voice hisses through the line. You're making a very big mistake. Some fights aren't worth picking. Drop this now while you still can. I don't need caller ID. Barbara's scared, and that means leverage. The neighborhood is a powder keg. Next stop, Mrs. Henderson, 2 doors down. I mention Barbara's name, and her eyes dart over her shoulder. You too, she whispers. Turns out she left for 3 weeks, came back to dirty dishes and a stranger's blanket on her couch, billed $100 for security. Across the street, another guy found strangers had stayed in his house, half his liquor cabinet gone, and a sticky note. Thanks for the hospitality. Neighbors start coming out of the woodwork, each with a story, renting emergency occupancy fees, rearranged kitchens. It's a scam. Barbara's using the HOA like her own personal Airbnb empire. By now, I'm armed with enough evidence to level a small town. I call the security company. Does the HOA have any master override? The tech laughs. Not unless you hand them the codes yourself or a court orders it. Ever. Every time Barbara used that key, every time she killed an alarm, it was trespassing. Midnight, I'm building timelines, tagging evidence. Another call from Barbara. Stop this now. You think you're winning, but you're about to burn down more than you know. I save the voicemail, Exhibit 12. Next day, I file a demand for the HOA's financial records, CC. The board attach a digest of my findings. The sun barely crests the trees before Derek calls, we need an emergency meeting. Barbara's blowing up my phone. Good. That means the missile landed. The clubhouse looks like a courtroom in cheap disguise. Neighbors lean in hungry for drama. Barbara waltzes in 5 minutes late, dragging a man she calls her legal counsel, who looks more like a guy who fixes garage doors. Barbara launches into her act: community trust, shared values, safeguarding property. Her voice is honey, her eyes are razor blades. I let her ramble. The more she talks, the more rope she gives herself. When she finally runs out of air, I stand and spread my evidence like dominoes: photos, receipts, text logs. Who authorized emergency access to private homes without consent, I ask. The silence is thunderous. Chloe stands from the back, voice trembling. Barbara charged me $300 a week to stay in Grant's house. The room explodes, gasps, whispers outrage. Barbara hisses, "You little liar." But Chloe doesn't flinch. I slide proof across the table. 2 months of bank transfers, all to Barbara's personal account. Derek, the VP, says, "Barbara, this doesn't look good." Barbara detonates, shouting about sacrifices, her fist slamming the table, water pitcher toppling, voice cracking. But anger isn't strength tonight, it's desperation. I look at her so-called lawyer. "State your bar number for the record." He gulps. "I'm not a lawyer. I'm her brother-in-law." The room erupts, half gasp, half laughter. Derek slams down the gavel motion to suspend Barbara, effective immediately. Hands go up, 3-1, motion passed. It's over. Barbara stumbles out, spitting. This isn't over, as the door slams behind her. But I know, and everyone else knows, Barbara doesn't just accept defeat. She comes back for revenge. Sure enough, that night, pounding at my door, police lights, officers on my porch, Barbara in tow, smile stretched tight. He's harassing me, threatening my life. She tries to stage a show, claims I threatened her with a gun. Instead, I lay out my binder. Every violation, every scam, every time she broke the law. I play her threatening voicemail out loud. Barbara's mask slips just for a second. Then Chloe steps up, voice shaking. "Barbara told me to lie. She paid my rent with his house." Barbara lunges, the officers restrain her. "Barbara Sanderson, you're under arrest for fraud, trespassing, and filing a false police report. The Queen is dethroned." Neighbors record it all as she's hauled away, screaming betrayal. 3 weeks later, the neighborhood feels scrubbed clean. Barbara's empire is splashed across the news. 14 homes breached, $23,000 funneled into her accounts. A paper trail 2 years long. Twitter explodes, hashtag #ByeByeBarbara. Her mugshot becomes a meme, HOA Queen dethroned. The new board moves fast. New locks, new bylaws, no master keys, no exceptions. People come out of hiding, each with a story. Turns out fear kept everyone silent. Me. I finally have my peace back. No more red envelopes, no more 2 a.m. paranoia. I find Barbara's master key in a jar, stick it on the shelf beside the bylaws, a warning in glass. Power borrowed is power that burns you. Sometimes I think back to that first day, unlocking my own door and feeling like an intruder. Barbara tried to break more than rules, she tried to break peace. But she failed. Victory doesn't feel like a speech, it feels like garlic in your own kitchen, a porch swing creaking, a lock clicking shut, yours not hers. The street's different now, kids biking, people waving BBQs instead of secret meetings. We didn't just fix bylaws, we fixed the silence. Fear doesn't live here anymore. Here's what I learned. Never underestimate how far control freaks will go when nobody's watching. Paperwork and fake smiles, they're weapons and they'll use them. But a spine, some receipts, and a little daylight, that's how you win wars. Now let me ask you, if this had happened to you, would you have fought back or just packed up and moved? Where's the line between standing your ground and giving up your peace? Drop your thoughts below. Share your story, your take on justice, power, and revenge. I want to hear it. And hey, if you liked hanging out in my little circus, smash that like, subscribe for more HOA nightmares, and if you're feeling generous, that thanks button buys me a coffee to survive the next one. Here's hoping it doesn't involve cops on my porch at midnight.